Okay, so just the other day, Nintendo released the update for NSO, which added Majora's Mask, but also improved Ocarina of Time. Seems like the emulator overall has gotten an improvement. So I want to talk about some of the improvements for OOT first, and then I'll get to MM, since some of the OOT improvements kind of go into MM. So first of all, the fog is fixed. As you can see here, fog looks much better than it did before. This is not just in this area too, this is like the entire game. If I go to Dark Link's room is completely fixed. The water is now see-through, so you can actually see the reflection. Fog is here. So the fog is completely fixed throughout the entire game. Nice to see that they finally did that. So there's still a few weird textures that haven't been fixed. So the magic spin texture, which is a bit weird, is still kind of weird. Same with blue warps. There's a few minor, like, odd textures like that have not been fixed yet. And strangely enough, there's a glitch specifically in the Japanese version where if you go into Fire Temple, Link's gauntlets are blue. This is due to a misplaced texture replacement, which would be something that should be very easy to fix that they haven't fixed yet. Another thing that hasn't been changed is there's still no option for remapping buttons, which is a big problem specifically with C-Right. For the way the controls work out, if you're not using the N64 controller, is C-Right you have to use either a button combination with ZR and A, or C-Stick Right, both of which are very annoying for an actual C item. There's still no option to make C-Right a single button unless you're playing on the N64 controller. That's really bad. They really need to add an in-app button mapping option. There's another thing more specific for speedrunning, but pause buffering has been fixed. So before, pause buffering was incredibly inconsistent. It basically killed the chance of doing any like precise tricks. But now pause buffering is consistent again. It seems like it might be a little bit harder than other versions, but it is consistent again and actually works. I say as I fail it. So another really significant thing is that the input lag has actually been improved. So there's this account, Kimagre Gaming, that does a lot of input lag testing videos. And they've been testing input lag for OOT for the original NSO release, the update that came out a little while ago, and then this update. The input lag has actually been improved from an average of about 13.3 frames of input lag to 11.4 or so frames of input lag. That is a nice improvement, but it's still pretty bad input lag. That's still nearing 200 milliseconds of input lag. For comparison, N64 has about 100 milliseconds of input lag, and Wii VC has about 150. 200 is really pushing it. So it's a nice improvement. It's good that it is being improved, but it still needs to go lower. Hopefully they can continue working on that. But it is nice to at least see an improvement. And so now here at the bottom of the chart is also MM's input lag, which is just a tiny bit higher than OOT, basically the same. So MM does have the base reduced input lag. So now to go talk about MM. So in MM, there is no fog issues like OOT, since they seem to have fixed the fog issue entirely. So MM looks very good. There's very few things in the game that actually don't look right. In fact, there were actually some textures in the Wii VC version that looked kind of bad compared to the original N64 version that no longer look bad. For example, flames looked pretty bad in the Wii VC version. They were like very small and faint, and now they look just like the N64 versions. There are some weird textures though. The spin attack is also kind of a weird texture, just like on Ocarina of Time. Also, very strangely, the bomb texture is really weird. It's not like any other version. I'm really not sure why it's like this. It's kind of strange. It's not bad, but it is strange that the bomb texture looks different than any other version. So this version also has very little slowdown lag. The original was pretty laggy, even on Wii VC, which had reduced lag, could still be laggy in some places. This version has very little slowdown lag across the game. There are some exceptions though. There's actually intentional lag in one cutscene. Fig looked through some of the Lua script files used for some of the emulator hacks used and found that there's script for intentionally inducing lag for the Giants cutscene, and this is to sync the cutscene up properly with the music. whereas the Wii VC version was actually too fast and ended before the music ended. So there actually is intentional lag there to fix that cutscene. And then also, there's this other clip on Twitter of the Lens of Truth causing lag. So I was trying to replicate this myself and I couldn't, so I'm not sure if this is some rare case or some other cause for this, but thought it was worth mentioning. But overall, the improvement to Ocarina of Time and the way Majora's Mask performs is mostly pretty good. I would say the two big issues are still the button mapping for C right and the input lag. The input lag is at least being improved. Hopefully they can improve it more. If they can at least get it down to Wii VC levels, I think that'd be pretty good. And button remapping, they really need an in-app option for button remapping. If they can do those two things, then this version would actually be pretty good for both OOT and MM. Overall, as it is right now, it's definitely a lot better than it was, but it is making progress on becoming better. Also, one thing I want to mention about input lag, back when Ocarina of Time first came out and there was a lot of talk about the input lag, one very common thing that people would say to defend it is saying stuff like, oh, I didn't notice the input lag, so it doesn't really matter to me. And so the thing about input lag is it exists whether you notice it or not. It is true some people may not notice it if you're not used to intentionally looking for input lag, but regardless of whether you feel it or not, it is there and it is going to affect you. You might just see it affecting you in ways that might feel like bad controls or feeling like you are worse at the game than you really are. Like if you are a little bit late on an attack or a little bit late on a shield, or you shoot an arrow a little bit to the side of where you wanted to because you released it later than you thought you were supposed to. All of those things can probably be attributed to input lag. So it can be affecting you even if you don't notice it. So input lag is important. Doesn't matter if you notice it or not, it is affecting you. And that is why it is an important thing that should be fixed. Because the thing is, the input lag, if you don't notice it but it does affect you, you will get the impression that the controls are worse than they actually are.